The Legion of Boom Seahawks of the 2010s had one of the most dominant defensive runs in NFL history. They were built around speed all over the field to fly to the ball and make plays. They had tremendous size that allowed them to drip with swagger and ooze with confidence. And to go along with all that, they had an amazing scheme that seeped its way through the rest of the NFL, and it became the go-to defense in the league over the rest of the decade. And we will be doing it all while basing our defense out of 4-3 formations and 4-down lineman nickel looks, just like the LOB Seahawks. Now, this defense is easily going to go down as one of the greatest we have ever seen in the history of the league. And from 2012 to 2015, they led the NFL in scoring defense 4 years in a row, which has never been done in the Super Bowl era. But to start it all off, they were led by their architect, Pete Carroll, who is one of the greatest football coaches ever, being one of the only coaches to win a Super Bowl when he was with the Hawks and a national championship while at USC. When he made his way to Seattle, he had a vision of creating a hard-nosed, smash-mouth football team, but he enabled them to show personality, and this was really the spark that allowed the LOB to take shape. The swagger and confidence that they played with was the underlying backbone that enabled them to have so much success. But the 2013 was really their magnus opus. They were absolutely dominant, leading the NFL in scoring defense, and they allowed the least amount of yards, and they forced the most turnovers, becoming the first team to do this since the '85 Bears. And this season culminated in a Super Bowl victory. Then they were able to make it back to the big game in 2014, coming up just short of going back to back. They truly have a laundry list of accomplishments and puts the Legion of Boom in the same breath as the Steel Curtain defense, the '85 Bears, and the 2000 Ravens. Now, there are some main principles of this LOB defense that are the backbones of the scheme. First, they would play primarily single high coverages, giving them 8 players in the box, and these are the same looks we will be based out of. This gave them a great run D up front where they could plug up holes and shoot in the backfield and make plays. Then for coverages, they were primarily cover 3 and cover 1, and we will be putting a heavy emphasis on cover 3 in this defense. Then the Seahawks prioritized size and speed all over the field with the ability to physically dominate offenses both up front along the D line, but also in the secondary where they had a ton of size. Then they wanted great team speed so they could fly all around the field and make a ton of plays on the football. And these size and speed attributes are perfect for how Madden 23 plays. Especially this year, size with your DBs is massive to prevent those aggressive catches down the field. But all this leads into some changes we are going to make to this scheme to make sure it's as effective as possible in Madden while still staying true to its Legion of Boom roots. First, we are going to dial up way more blitzes with this scheme than the Seahawks did. I have found some amazing ones, and they are just going to make our defense so much more effective, because just playing drop zone like the Hawks tended to do is just not very viable in Madden. So the more blitzes we can add to the equation, it will really just take our defense to the next level. Then for coverages, though the Hawks played a ton of cover 3, we are also going to base our coverages out of those looks, but we are going to put our own spin on it, and it is just going to make it so much better in Madden and really can create a lockdown defense to confuse your opponent. Then, like I said, we are going to be primarily playing single high defensive looks like the Hawks, but we will be rotating through defensive coverages and giving them way more variation from those single high looks, giving us a greater diversity in our play calls. And I think this is going to be very necessary to make this defense as effective as possible. Now, as we go along with this scheme, there is going to be a ton more videos going up on the site for this LOB Seahawks defense. But up right now is the first mini scheme, and it is this nickel double mug defense, and it is a great way to crank up the pressure and rack up sacks. Then also on the site are all my past schemes like my NCAA spread offense, my Chiefs West Coast spread offense, and so many more. Also on the site, you can get access to my playbooks, which are full written breakdowns for my schemes, with 3 out so far, and the newest being my spread offense that is a 90-page long book. Then up on the site right now, I'm also running a sale. You can use code LOB at checkout for 50% off your first month. Now, if you want to check out Scheme Kings, I will leave a link for it down in the description below. Now, this whole defense will be run out of the Seattle Seahawks defensive playbook, and we will be primarily running 2 formation groups, with the first being 4-3 under. This is the formation the LOB was most known for, and this is what put their defense on the map, and it gave them the size to match up with heavier offensive sets, and we're going to have access to some great blitz options. Then we also have some really strong and unique coverage schemes to go along with them. Now, starting up front with the defensive tackles, and here they wanted space eaters who could really stop the run first and eat up blocks, but also had that athleticism to get in the backfield and make plays on the QB. Brandon Mebane was their most successful defensive tackle over their time here, and I'm using Warren Sapp and William Perry at defensive tackle in this defense. And I have inside stuff on both these players, allowing them to fire into the backfield and blow up runs, and this is going to make our run defense so much better. Then at the end, they love speed off the edge. They would use some big run stuffers, but they really wanted those speedy edge players who could get after the quarterback, and their two best were Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett. They were two of the most underrated pass rushers of their era, with Bennett sometimes also kicking inside and playing more on the interior, and then Averill being a pure edge rusher, and he loved to go after the football and cause turnovers. Then for my two outside rushers, I have Josh Allen and Alex Highsmith, and both these have unbelievable speed to get at the QB in an instant when coming in on the blitz. Then I do have edge threat on both to make sure they can get wins when only rushing 4, and this is going to make our coverages so much easier on the back end. Then moving to our off-ball linebackers, and the Hawks had two legendary ones with first Bobby Wagner, who is one of the greatest linebackers ever. He was unbelievably fast, going from sideline to sideline to make plays. He was excellent in coverage, locking up running backs and tight ends down the field, but then he could also come in on the blitz and make plays. Then for KJ Wright, he brought a lot of the same attributes while not being quite as athletic, but he was an incredibly cerebral and smart player, and this allowed him to have such a long career. Now in this defense, we have three off-ball linebackers, Derek Brooks, Fred Warner, and Ray Nitschke. These will be coverage players first who need to be able to run and cover on the back end, but they will also be coming free in on blitzes, so they need to have the speed to close in a hurry into the backfield and make plays. Then all three of them do have lurker. This will allow them to jump up in pass coverage and make plays on the football. Next, we are moving to nickel wide, and this will be our answer to more of the spread passing looks, and this will give us more speed and athleticism on the field, but we will still be in a 4-down front, just like the Hawks were in nickel, and this formation will give us an amazing mix of dynamic coverages to go along with some crazy blitzes to make you huge plays. Now moving to our nickel linebackers, and I like to sub one of my inside backers out and put in a safety, but if you have two really athletic safeties, you can also sub them both in. That works. Now these players will be mostly coverage players, so speed and coverage ability are a must, and then they're also going to be our users quite a bit over the middle of the field, so size is a bonus. And I'm using Sean Taylor as my sub linebacker, who offers a ton of that size, speed, and range to make plays in the middle of the defense. Then our other 4-3 linebacker gets subbed out, and now we put a nickel back on the field, and this will be Tariq Woolen. And here it is all about speed. He will be a major player in coverage on the back end, so he needs to have the speed and coverage ability to play in this spot. Now getting into the secondary, and this is what the LOB was all about. This was the lifeblood that made them so special, starting with the safeties, and they had Earl Thomas at free safety. He was their deep center fielder, and he was unbelievably fast with the speed to go sideline to sideline and make plays. He played with a fire and intensity that made him one of the most dynamic secondary players ever. Then at strong safety, they had Cam Chancellor. He was their box safety who played down in with the linebackers, and he was the ultimate intimidating force. At 6'3", 230 pounds, he was one of the hardest hitting players we have ever seen, but also super underrated in coverage. Now in Madden, both our safeties will play single high and in the box, so we are going to go for more of a mix between Earl and Cam, and we have Charles Woodson and Richard Sherman. Both are in the 6'2", 6'3" range, and both have the speed to make plays on the ball and coverage, and the size to play the ball deep down the field and stop those aggressive catches. Then for abilities, we have deep out KO on both, and this is one of the best abilities in the game, and it is going to allow you to break up passes down the field and stop those aggressive catches, and I will be breaking this ability down more in depth in a later video. Then at corner, it all started with Richard Sherman. He really set the tone for the whole defense with his brashness and shit talking, but he could back it up. He was unbelievable unbelievable at making plays down the field on the football, and he is one of the best ball hawks we have ever seen. Plus, he brought great size to the position, playing on the outside at 6'3". Then the other corner who was there at the beginning was Brandon Browner, a 6'4" behemoth who was insanely physical and brought a ton of edge to the defense and really helped them form the name Legion of Boom. Now for outside corners, we want size and speed. They both need to be able to make plays on deep shots and have the size to not get jumped over and put on a poster. So I have out of position Harold Carmichael, who is 6'8", and then I have out of position Calvin Johnson, who's 6'5". And these are the perfect corners for this scheme when they're playing in their deep thirds. And I do have deep out KO on both of them once again, and this is going to help break up balls down the field and make it much tougher to pass the ball on your defense. Now this defense is gonna be locked down. To take your D to the next level, you need to be great on the other side of the ball, and you have to put up points and yards. So to pair with this defense, I have my NCAA spread offense, where I look at some of the greatest college offenses that we have seen over the past 15 years. So if you want to become unstoppable on offense, then you need to check out my 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide offense right here.